But we heard from Joe Brady today about Khalil. You asked a great question.
Yeah.
Why don't you talk about it?
Well, I asked him about
That was your
Shakir.
setup.
I know. You know, it's
He's not Dan.
Well,
It's
thank you
fine.
thank you for the compliment.
This is the Buffalo Plus podcast, brought to you by Connors and Ferris.
All right, welcome back to the Buffalo Plus channel presented by Connors and Ferris. Mike Catalana. I am Jenna Cottrell. Dan Fates back at home in Rochester. Please be sure to like, comment, subscribe to the channel. We so appreciate it. You might realize we are in Orchard Park today.
At least we're inside.
Yes.
I got to tell you, we're out there at practice. It was beautiful, and then it became Buffalo.
Yeah, it started to rain. It got cold. I was hot at one point in this outfit, and then I was cold at one point in this outfit. So it was, it's Western New
It's
York. You're going to
Buffalo.
get hit every season, it seems like, in one
Yes.
day. All right, so we're here for OTAs, and today we got to talk to the Bills offensive coordinator, Joe Brady. Obviously, he was the interim OC after Ken Dorsey was fired late last year. Now he's officially taking over the offense. What was your impression you got from Brady today?
I think it's a real big difference when you take over. And I don't mean it from
Yeah.
an arrogance standpoint. I mean, like, he had a long, long stretch of auditioning for this job.
Yes.
And so while you can say that can be a good thing, it can also be a really bad thing that they just decide we're going to go elsewhere. Because a lot of times when you're hiring a coach like that, they're stepping up in what they're doing. They're coming from another organization. You're trying to see how they will fit with you. Joe Brady had been around, but he was, I mean, it was a stretch. It was what, mid-November when they hired him?
Yeah.
Through the toughest part of the year, great stretch of wins, and Josh Allen having a lot of faith in him. But I think he sat there today as not a noticeably different guy in a sense of like, but I do think he has a confidence to say, okay, I can take a breath, I can put my offense in, and I can make this work the way I believe it can work long-term for this team.
I texted you and I said he sounds like a future head coach.
Yeah.
Because I thought the way he handled the questions he was asked about Stephon not being around, he was asked about in terms of the offense, what you want to see, how this offense wants to move, about, how there's not a bona fide kind of number one guy. I thought he handled everything really well. And I thought his first soundbite that he talked about was perfect, where he said, you know what, we'll let him say it.
Look, at the end of the day, this is Josh Allen's offense, right?
Yeah, so shockingly enough, it's Josh Allen, and the offense will go through him.
But you know how many coaches won't say that?
Yeah.
Not specifically about Josh Allen.
Yeah, but just
in
in
terms
general.
of a guy like Bill Belichick would have never said that about Tom Brady, the greatest of all time. It's like they don't want to admit, oh God, we have a great
Somebody's
player,
pretty good.
and we're going to do what works for him. And
Yeah.
I think he was right. First of all, when you're changing the whole wide receiver room, except for KHALIL Shakir, that yeah, you might as well make it what Josh is comfortable with. The other guys are all having to somewhat start over. Why not keep it? It's not like you brought in 4 guys from the Washington Commanders and they all had the same offense. Brought them from all over the place. It's a new room. But if Josh is comfortable, it's going to spread throughout the whole team.
I think that's so true. And I think you mentioned KHALIL Shakir. Pretty interesting when people were talking about, essentially, he is the only wide receiver on this roster last year who caught a touchdown from Josh Allen.
Caught a pass.
But Andy Isabella, I thought he caught a pass at one point. That's besides the point. But
That's interesting. Now, I'm going to have to look that up. I don't think Andy Isabella caught a regular season pass. Returned a punt.
okay, we'll have to look at it. But
Yeah.
either way, minutia aside,
Yes.
it's insane to think about that,
Yeah.
how different that room looks. But we heard from Joe Brady today about Khalil. You asked a great question.
Yeah.
Why don't you talk about it?
Well, I asked him about
That was your
Shakir.
setup.
I know. It's
He's not Dan,
Well,
it's
thank you
fine.
thank you for the compliment. What I said to him was last year where he was in knowledge of the offense and like was there certain things for him, and then this year more of the offense opens up for him, or is it just a matter of there's going to be more opportunities for him? And he basically said, like he had the offense. He said there's going to be things between he and Josh, and I think that's where the difference. I think the time Josh spent, not that he doesn't spend it with all the receivers, with Gabe, Davis, and Diggs, now goes more to a guy like Khalil, where their connection, it improved certainly by the end of the year. You showed me the numbers. The numbers over that period of time are really good for Shakir in the late part of the year. And So you say, okay, there was a little bit of that, but now they start working together. And I think it's a combination of things. I think faith in Shakir and also targets. I mean,
Yeah.
come on, there's over 200 targets that went to those two guys. They're going to somebody.
Yeah, it makes sense in terms of what you need now that those two guys are gone. But I really liked what Brady had to say about you saw the evolution of him last year, which everyone did, especially later on in the season, and then also coupled with the fact that there is that opportunity and the work ethic that KHALIL Shakir has, the mentality that he takes. And we got to talk to him today, and you made this point about how he's so calm.
Yeah. He was that way
Before.
as a rookie. I laughed because I think Dan and I were at rookie camp that year, and we were walking right over here, walking off the field, and we were going to interview him. And he's like introducing himself to us, like, "Hey guys, I'm." And I'm like, "Yeah, we know who you are." And then last year, I remember talking to him at camp when he was talking about his dad, texting him.
His dad is a veteran.
Yes, military vet, and he would text him, if things didn't go well. And I just think the guy's he's just got it together. I mean, I think he is a confident without being arrogant athlete. I think he knows he's good, but he doesn't say that in any other way. He appears to be a great teammate. He did say he's focused on being more vocal.
Yes.
Which doesn't come naturally to him.
Well, I think that's really important because he's talked about how he is more of a quieter, lead by example type of guy, but because there are so many new faces here, he wants to be someone that if someone has a question, they can come to him. In the weight room, if someone needs something, they can come to him. And I think that is important because he's also staying true to himself.
Yeah.
And I think that we talk so much about how in Buffalo you can be your big brash personality as long as you keep the main thing. But I also think on the flip side of that, guys like KHALIL Shakir or Taron Johnson, who are a little bit quieter, who are trying to become leaders, but also do it in their own way as well.
Well, I think the other players are going to look to those guys.
Absolutely.
I don't think there's any question. He also said something that I know, and I don't think we talk about it enough. He said when you're running routes, he goes, you could be running the clear out for the other guy because on the next play or another play, he's running the clear out for you. And that's when a team, and I'm paraphrasing here, but that's when a team is working together. When you're working as hard for me when I'm getting the ball as I am for you when you're getting the ball, that's what makes your offense really good.
Yeah.
Now, do not take this the wrong way. He was saying nothing bad about Gabe or Steph Diggs.
Yeah.
There is none of that comes out of here. Those two guys were really popular, and I know a lot of people, down on them because they're gone. But he was talking about that's what makes it work for players. Because they also talked about Diggs being that guy at practice every day, coming at 110%, which is the way he was, and how that gets replaced out there on the field.
Yeah, I think, and we've heard this phrase a lot today, is everybody's going to eat.
Yeah.
And maybe that is what is going to be so different about this season, whereas last year it was Stephon Diggs, and then it was everyone else, Gabe Davis, then KHALIL Shakir, and then that. Now it seems a little bit more even.
Yeah.
So there's an upside to that. There's also a downside.
Yes.
So you have balance with that. But I'm always impressed when we talk to KHALIL Shakir because I feel like, and we've said this in the Buffalo Plus podcast studio, like I'm worried about, not having a number one guy, what that means for KHALIL Shakir because he's done so well at exceeding expectations in his limited role. But if you open that role, is it going to be too much? But when we talk to him, it's just, I feel more confident today after talking to him because I feel like his approach is that of focus and respect and being humble. And I think that it's a learning mentality. And I think this entire offense, even Josh Allen talked about how it's a lot of learning, it's a lot of teaching.
It is. I will say one thing that concerns me about the offense and for the passing game. I like a lot of the players individually. I think there's a skill set. I think it can be really good. But when you started out a season with Steph Diggs and you started out a season even with Gabe Davis, there was an expectation of what they are because they had done it in the league. Gabe certainly not as much as Diggs, but Diggs put up the 1,000-yard seasons and the 100-catch seasons and all. So you knew that. I think when you look at this Bills wide receiver group, every guy in that group needs to do more, or you hope they do more than they've ever done on an NFL field. They're either rookies, like Keon Coleman, who, by the way, I love the catch. He's like going across the middle, nothing huge, but the hands out, snagging the ball, bringing it down, getting up before he would get, quote, tackled.
KHALIL Shakir was asked about him, called Keon Coleman an animal.
Yeah.
I
a
love that. That's
positive,
what you
yeah.
want. That's what you want.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Like
He-
the way he approaches the game when he steps out on the field, he's got this big personality, but when he's on the field, it's like, all right, it's time to do my job.
Yeah.
And no one's going to come in between that. Love that.
But the opening game is against the Cardinals is his first game in the NFL,
Yes,
right?
yeah.
And then you have guys, who have not. Look at Shakir, really good in a relatively small sample. Got to do more. Samuel finally playing with a really good quarterback. The numbers have been okay, but you're going to expect more. So you look down that whole roster, and then we know about the other guys. MVS has 2 Super Bowl rings, but he's been somewhat of a disappointment for who he could have been for his whole career. And then, so you have those guys. So that's the part that I sometimes look at. By the way, who brings the most energy to practice every day?
Mac Hollins.
He's a wild man.
He's juicing.
Yeah.
He's like, that
Well,
sounds
no,
bad.
no.
Yeah.
I
He
know what
brings
you
the
mean.
juice.
He does.
He brings the juice.
The guys
yeah,
say
he's-
that.
I was
He
gonna
brings
say.
the juice without the shoes.
Yeah, so he doesn't really wear shoes. He's very into
He wears cleats
nature.
on the field.
And then
and
if he's not, he's just barefoot apparently. He's very into grounding. We're gonna do a story on him.
Yeah.
He seems like a really
Interesting dude.
definitely.
He-
but
he's a big guy,
He
though.
is super vocal on the field. The
Yes.
first day last week, I was like, who is screaming all the time? It's not Dan Fates.
I know. Well, it might be, but it wasn't in this case.
Exactly. Let's talk about some of the other observations
Yeah.
from practice. You mentioned the really nice catch from
Yeah.
Keon Coleman. DeMar Hamlin also had an interception today.
So
Again.
I love the play. The Bills were running their offense down. I guess it would have been red zone.
Yeah.
And they had Ty Johnson on my favorite route, the wheel route. He's coming around, and here comes DeMar. Josh threw it up. We're standing there, and it's close. And you see DeMar comes over, snags it out of midair, takes it back, quote, for a touchdown. Nice play. Good athletic play. So he's like, hey, Flacco, I'm the comeback player of the year. No, he didn't say anything, but it was a nice play, and I think
Yeah.
he's in that role of backup safety for this year. So we'll see how he does, but that was good to see.
Some nice plays. And then you got to talk to Austin Johnson.
Yeah.
I have not seen Mike smile
Okay.
so widely. What's the word? You were excited.
I was excited because, so they just tell you the quick story. So Austin Johnson, new defensive lineman for the Bills.
Good
been
friends with
around the league.
Daquan Jones.
Yes, they played together at Penn State. Austin went to St. Augustine Prep, which is my high school in New Jersey. Now that's a connection, and you can say, whatever, I'm twice his age, so that's fine. But we played for the same basketball coach.
That's wild.
Austin was all-state. I was not.
You were all water boy.
No. But I played for Paul Rodeo back when he started his career as the coach. Paul is still coaching. He's well over 1,000 wins in the state of New Jersey.
So impressive.
Austin was a senior when he was all-state, and they won the state championship. My brother Dave was one of the assistant coaches on the team during that time, and so Austin is a St. Augustine Prep grad. There's been a few in the NFL and in the NBA, but he's there. But people get a kick out of when I say we had the same coach. First of all, they think the coach is like 100.
Well.
But Paul is he's got to be right around 70. He started coaching in his 20s. Like, he
Yeah.
was a young guy coaching. And so we were joking. He was like, he's ripping the tie off. Well, he did. I said he did that when I was
Yeah.
playing too. He was mad, but
I loved it.
Yeah.
Also, when we were talking to Austin Johnson, and
Yeah.
Austin Johnson said to you, "You sound just like your brother,"
Yeah.
I was like, "Oh my gosh, this
Yeah.
is amazing."
yeah. So
That's a pretty cool moment.
He knows my brother pretty well. My brother-in-law is the athletic director at the school. So Austin had not really played football, and I have to be sure whether it was his junior or senior year. And the football coach is saying, he's a big athletic kid who was a great basketball player. Do you want to play football? And he comes out for the football team. And of course, he's a great football player. And Penn State recognizes his talent. Now, Penn State was in a bad way. This was after the Paterno stuff. And Bill O'Brien was the coach. And they went after him. And he decided to go there. And he played, for Penn State. And eventually got drafted, I think, in the second round, third round. He got drafted, and he was with the Titans. He's been with the Giants.
Yeah,
been
9
around the
years.
league, and now he's here. Now he's here with the Bills. He says he's a versatile guy, and Daquan really helped bring him here. Loves the culture, loves the vibe in Buffalo.
Josh
So,
Allen.
Yeah, I asked
all
him.
that
I said,
stuff.
"Does that come into play?" He's like, "Oh yeah," because you can win every game.
Yeah, I don't
Yeah.
blame him. I'd be the same way.
And he got a chance to talk to me.
Yeah. You were so excited.
It is.
He
Hey,
was
come on.
excited to talk to you, though. You
Yeah,
could tell.
I mean, he knows
was-
some of
that was
my family,
adorable.
which is funny.
Yeah.
But
The
yeah.
you sound just like your brother got me.
And I will also tell you this, and you mark in the comments, there is not a single high school or college in the country that has our nickname at St. Augustine,
Okay, wait, I know this. Oh, it's the Hermits.
the Hermits.
Yes.
No one's got the Hermits.
Yeah, it's because it's weird.
Not for us. Not for us at St. Augustine.
Does
Yeah.
that mean you just stay in your house?
No, yeah, it is, because the school was a tiny little school basically in the woods in Jersey.
Got it.
And then that's not the school Austin went to. I mean, it's got the big field house and all this stuff.
Beautiful.
When I went there in the 1800s, it was like, I'm kidding. You could have laughed. It was a very different place, but yeah, it was cool.
Do you know my high school mascot?
No.
No guesses?
I'm trying to remember. What's your school, like Saratoga North or something? What is it?
Saratoga Springs. But
Okay.
The Blue Streaks.
What is that?
It's the word. I think that's also I don't know any other school having that nickname. Mostly because it's not a great nickname.
Yeah. Well, we haven't had to change. Either one of our schools hasn't had to change. Nobody.
There's
Nobody's
that.
like, no.
It's a lightning
Hermits have
bolt.
not complained
The
about our
hermit.
name.
Of course.
Yeah.
They're so loud and boisterous.
Now, and listen, as a player, I think he's been around. I think they brought him in, and it's a one-year
Yeah.
deal. I think they believe he can be one of those rotational guys that help. He's been a decent player around the league. I think he had 3.5 sacks, played with the Giants. So he's not, I don't think he's a stat guy. I think he's just a guy that can really help. Daquan likes him. Daquan's back, so I think that's good.
I think it makes sense.
Yeah.
And add that versatility. Like he said, that's what his game can bring. So I
Yeah.
think a lot of Bills fans will like that. Anything else you want to add?
No, I think there's pretty good vibe here. Again, it's so early. We were joking about it's 100 days until the start of the regular season, which seems like a lot, but it goes fast.
It does.
They still got some OTA work, and they got the mandatory camp coming in.
Yep.
And then before we know it, there'll be a Fisher for training camp. So
It's wild. I
Yeah.
feel like this part of the year always just flies by.
It does.
But yeah, we'll have plenty more coming up on the Buffalo Plus YouTube channel. I guess that's it for right now.
yeah, we
What?
want you to make sure if you're hearing this maybe on one of your audio channels, we
Oh.
appreciate it. Go ahead.
Bob Babbage.
Oh,
We
yes.
got to meet
yes.
him.
So Bob Babbage comes up to me, and then he sees Jenna. So I remember Bob coaching here.
Yeah, so do I.
And Bobby is his
Son. Yeah.
I
Who's
want you-
now the defensive coordinator.
Coordinator. Okay. And Bob was like, "Hey, Mike," and I was like, "Hey," because I remember him. But
Yeah.
like, and then he's like, "Watch you guys," and
That
there it
was-
is. Then he points at you, and he's
Yeah.
like, "Yeah," he goes, his wife and they watch
Sorry,
it,
I'm
so
just yelling in
hopefully they're
here.
watching here.
Very cool. Very much
And-
appreciated. That was
And
awesome.
Let me a little, do we got a little? What do you think's a little, not a scoop, but what you heard last week? Did you talk about it?
Oh no. Are you
can
putting it
talk-
on the spot?
Why not? You could say
Okay.
that. Just
Okay.
what'd you hear?
Well, I asked Taron Johnson about Bobby Babbage becoming the
This is
defensive.
Bobby Babbage
This-
Jr.
yes.
I think it's
His-
Junior. Yes.
I believe so.
Yeah.
About him becoming defensive coordinator. And McDermott has talked about how, they haven't decided yet who's called the plays. That's what he said in press conferences. And Taron had mentioned that Bobby calling the plays has been really cool. So,
Now that could just be in the off season, seeing how it goes before
Yeah.
they make a decision. But
yeah, I was like, oh,
you caught that. That's good.
it's interesting.
Yeah.
I asked the question, so I was paying attention.
Everybody else zoned out.
Yeah.
You
It was
asked-
hot in here. I don't blame anyone. It's fair. It's fine.
So, Bob and the missus and
Yeah.
the whole family, if everybody's
Very
watching,
cool.
we appreciate it.
yeah. We always love it.
Yeah.
Always so surprised when anyone watches.
And I think next week we get to talk to Bobby.
I believe so.
Yeah,
I do.
yes.
Yeah. All right.
So that'll be good.
Okay, so please be sure to like, comment, subscribe, as well as share. We always appreciate
And like I
that
said,
as well.
audio channels, because you interrupted me, which that doesn't happen very
Yeah.
often.
Oh man.
Spotify, iHeart, wherever you're hearing this on
Yeah.
your audio podcast, we appreciate it.
Yeah, definitely. And if you are listening on the podcast version, the audio only version, please be sure to subscribe there
Yes.
as well. So
great.
hit all the channels, all the notifications, all the likes. We always appreciate it. All right, I'll stop the shameless plug of Buffalo Plus. For Mike Catalana, I'm Jenna Cottrell. For Dan Fates, who's not here, thank you so much for watching. We'll catch you next time here on Buffalo Plus.
This is the Buffalo Plus Podcast, brought to you by Connors and Ferris.